Well, things are starting to look up.
Garage time.
Most car restorations start with a complete car, especially if it's a Porsche. You know, you fix one or two things here and there, and you end up with a really nice product. Now, I'm getting excited about this car because it's starting to look like those nicer cars. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I did the opposite. I started with a stripped out shell. I had to buy new doors, hood, deck lid, and guess what? They wouldn't even close. Now this car is getting much closer to paint, and I know this thing inside and out, and I've made a lot of improvements along the way. Most people will agree that the most difficult part of any restoration is, especially on Porsche, the rust repair, which this car didn't have much, but I did do some in the suspension pan, and also the body modifications. This car has got a ton of body modifications. Of course, it's a backdate with flared fenders. So I want to thank you all for sticking with me throughout this journey. I know it's not the most glorious part of the build, but I do want to show you something new and shiny. Look at these. These rear tail light lenses are from URO, and they are fantastic. I really like this chrome trim. I opted for the chrome trim to sort of backdate this car a little bit. And these are the European versions with the amber turn signals, but the quality here is excellent. The clarity is fantastic. So this lens here is an aftermarket lens as well, but it is for the front. And you can see the difference in clarity between this aftermarket one from Pelican and the URO part is just much more clear. These turn out to be not molded in amber. These are like spray painted or tinted with a some kind of coloring agent to make these look amber. So they just don't look the same. The finish is not exactly consistent. There's some light and dark spots on this one, whereas the URO lens is just molded in color, and I think it's going to last a little longer, probably not as susceptible to fading. It's just a much superior product than this aftermarket one that I'm using for the front. So I'll be using the URO lenses for the front as well. All the links for these part numbers are in the description below. This week, I've been busy doing more fiberglassing and block sanding on these fiberglass corners. I'm almost done with them. There's a little bit more to do here near where it meets the bumperettes, but I'm not going to bore you with the action shots of me, doing fiberglass and block sanding. You can see more of those videos if you click up here. Also, this week, I've done more sanding to the 2K primer. It's been about 6 weeks since I applied this 2K high build primer, and I'm actually pretty impressed, if I do say so myself, that this stuff is blocking out pretty flat. So I've been using the longest blocks possible. This is this 30-inch or so block, and then I also have another one that's kind of homemade. This is plexiglass, and it's very curvable. So on this flat thing like a door, I'm using this stiffer block, and then things like the roof here, I'm actually using this plexiglass because it contours and follows the roof line. And it's working pretty well. I did break through right here. This is a high spot that wasn't there before, but it's noticeable now. This broke through to the epoxy primer. And then down here in the corner, there's a small section that's broken through, and I'm starting to see a little low spot right there. So it's probably not the last application of the 2K primer, but I am pretty pleased with how flat it's sanding and overall the straightness of the car. Here is a mixing cup with some leftover high build primer that was left in the cup here. And I let this sit outside for all 6 weeks. And you can see there's a bunch of material left from the cup. It's now hard, but it's much, much smaller than the diameter of the cup. So you can see it kind of shaking around in there. It is shrunken about a ½ an inch in diameter. So this material, does shrink slightly, especially when it's in a thick form like a cup. When it's on the car, it doesn't shrink nearly as much, but I wanted to give it some time to do its thing, become stable before I sanded it. The last thing you want to happen is rush through it, sand it, and then it shrinks again some more, and then what you created as a flat surface with the sanding block is no longer flat because the material shrunk after you sanded it. So that's the rationale why I waited so long. But let me show you what it looks like when I put a little water on it, just for fun. This has been sanded with 220. So this is one of the areas that I was most concerned with because this is where the flare was installed, obviously. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so now. Click the subscribe button, also the little bell so you get notified whenever I release a new video. Every Saturday is my schedule for the last kind of year and a half. I've been pretty consistent about that. And YouTube has, without a doubt, motivated me to do my best work. In fact, I think it's coming out better than I actually thought it ever would. So I love the community, the collaborative nature, the comments, and I've actually had a chance to meet some of you subscribers at different car events. It's wonderful. And I've made some friends with other YouTubers. Russ had a task for me to do. I helped him make some templates using my SolidWorks program and able to communicate those with his fans. So here's a short segment about Russ. Please check out his stuff.
Tom, thank you for having me on your channel. Also, thank you so much for helping us second geners out with this door mirror template. And thank you for allowing me to introduce myself to your viewers. Car fans, my name is Russell and I have a channel called Double R Restorations. And like Tom, I'm also building my dream car in my home garage. That just happens to be a 1972 Camaro that I call Project Overkill, and I also have a 1981 Camaro that I call Project Fast Times. All the work is being done right here in my home shop. You'll see everything from painting to welding to the trials and tribulations that go into restoring one of these cars. The only thing that you won't see is a little bit of TIG welding, and hopefully I can get Tom's help on that someday. So after Tom's video, I hope you'll stop by, say hello, and maybe even consider subscribing. And Tom, once again, I can't thank you enough, and I do hope to meet you in person someday.
So go to Russ's channel. I'm going to leave a link in my description to how to get to his channel, but check it out. He's super detail oriented and his shop is way cleaner than mine. So sorry guys, there's not a lot of action shots this week. I felt like it was really repetitive, but check back next week. I'm going to be installing the rear suspension again, putting the wheels on so I can get the car rolling around. I need to access different parts of the car for more block sanding, and I need to tackle the front bumper because guess what? It doesn't fit.